Okay. We got hot in our bones right now. I woke up this morning, like it's coming. Next week. You want me to show next week? Okay, Rabotai, here's the question of the day. Yechave daat, book 6. Book 6, Siman 57. I'm Russian? Okay. I can't get it out of my head. Last night and then this morning I was just I'm already finished. Finished. Okay. Question of the day is as follows. Mezuzot shena'asu bitfus or betzilum photography. Hayim kesherot hen lefi halacha. Printed mezuzot from a computer or a printer or a picture mezuzah. Am I allowed to hang it up? Al pi halacha. Does it work? Don't laugh. Yeah. Don't laugh because a relative of mine asked me this question. Actually, a relative of mine said, "Oh, we're buying mezuzot for our house," and they sent me the link to Amazon.com mezuzah they're all going to buy. I said, "I'm not lying to you." I said, "Please." I said, please. So this is a real thing. I'm sure they're not the only ones. So I'm sure there are lots, maybe thousands of Jews buying on Amazon.com. So the question is, what if it wasn't written by a sofer? It was printed. Okay, Arif, Mukhan? In Masechet Gittin, we have a halakha about writing a get, a divorce document. Tanu Rabanan, Becha Tavla Sefer Kiritut Benatan Biyada. The halakha is if a person wants to get divorced, La'alenu, he writes a Sefer Kiritut, the divorce document, Benatan Biyada, gives it to the wife. It says, Vechatav, you have to write the document. Velo v'chikek, not if you engraved. What if I want to engrave the document? It's nice. You pay extra for engraved, embossed. Embossed, embossed? That's my business, I'm printing. Embossed is you go in. So when you put your finger over the paper, the letters are lower than the rest of the paper. What if I want to emboss and engrave the divorce document so it's special? No. The Gemara explains, Shalomi et hakatuv ela hak tuchot, Aramit. Rashi says, the Gemara says, and Rashi explains, the only thing that's not kosher when it comes to engraving is if you push in the outside of the background. See, this is my business, I'm telling you. So there's two ways. If you want to have the letters, if you want to feel letter, go to a regular paper. You don't feel the letters on the paper. Maybe the old-fashioned typewriters, you feel the ink. Now you don't feel ink; it's smooth. If you want to, when you pay, they pay extra. In my hotels, they want the stationery. The letters should be like you could feel the letters, right? So there's two ways to do this. It's called emboss or deboss. What's the difference? On one, it's called letterpress. They press the letters into the paper. So they push the letters in. And so when you put your hands on the paper, the letters are lower than the paper. The other way is called emboss. They push everything around the letters in. And now the letters are popping on top of the paper. They're raised. Okay? Got it? Emboss versus deboss. So the Gemara says, hak tuchot, if you push all the background of the get in, you didn't draw letters. All you did was you put stencils of where the letters should be and you pushed the background in. So now you have letters popping out. You didn't draw letters. That's not kosher. You're not writing. No, either way you're not writing. It's just engraving. So if you push the background of the paper and now you have the letters popping out, not kosher. Abal hak yerechot kasher. But if you actually push the letters into the paper, the Gemara says it's kosher. So in English, okay? So in English, embossed means the letters are popping out. The only way to do this is to push in the paper. That's not kosher. Because you're not doing anything to the letters. You're just pushing the background. Debossed means you're leaving the paper alone. you're pushing in the letters. That's called writing because you're pushing in the letters. Okay? You feel it both ways. If you push in the letters and you leave the paper alone, but you push the letters in, the letters are lower, they're deeper into the paper. That's kosher. So Rashi says, just like I said, if you push in the background and now the letters are popping out because the background's pushed in, it's not called writing. You didn't draw anything, you didn't write anything. You just pushed in the round in the background. But the other way around would be good. And if you look at Shulchan Aruch, Ibn Ezer, Siman 125, you'll see this halakha l'maaseh. That if you pushed in the letters, so letter press is what we call it in the business. Letter press means you're pressing the letters in. It would be, Manash Hanuk says, it's called writing. Good? Okay. So where are we going with this? The Taz writes, here's a proof. Printed, machine printed books, mezuzot, sifrei Torah, books. Yesh b'hem kiddusha gemura. They are holy, says the Taz. Kemo hanichtavim bichtav, because it's just like they were written. Why? She'afil im lomar she'adifus nechshav kehakika. You're going to say, wow, maybe it's not called writing, it's called pushing in, the way the old printing presses. That's why I was asking Uncle Jack, how did the old printing presses work? Sounds like they were pushed into the paper. Now we have laser printers. But in the old printing press, I don't know for sure, I wasn't around, but it sounds like they pushed in the letters a lot more. And so maybe it's like engraving. So the Taz writes, for a get, it's kosher if you push in the letters. So for sure, if you push the letters in for a mezuzah, it should be okay. And says the Taz, printing in a press really is, it might be even more than engraving. It might be actual writing. So even if you're saying it's not called writing because the machine did it, maybe it's pushing in. It's only engraving, but they're not pushing the background of the paper. They're pushing the letters, and that would be kosher. The Taz, how long ago was the Taz? You want to look it up? You have the Google? Tudeh Zahav. Let's have a sip of coffee. We'll find the answer in 3 seconds from Google. The old printers, and they pushed it in. There you go. That's the only way, right? You got it? Tudeh Zahav. You're looking in Hebrew? But I wonder, even in the old books, you feel the letters. You can feel the letters. That's what about the printing? In, because they're pushing the letters in, right? They're not. That's what the Taz is saying. Tudeh Zahav. They're not pushing the paper around the letters. They're pushing the letters. So 500 years ago? That's wow. That's more than I thought the Taz lived. 400 or 500 years. Tudeh Zahav. No, they had no lasers. He's talking about in the old days. He's going to bring it to these days. We're starting with this. We're going to get to our age. But the printing press, when they printed newspapers, those big machines, like you see, I don't know how those work. They also pressed it. They pressed it in. So then they push the letters in. Okay, so there you go. So this is what the Taz says. And they push it in. Mm-hmm.
The offset works different. Offset, offset?
Offset printing, very good. Yeah.
It's different. The push is
different. Yeah. It's not letter press, right? Offset is not always letter press. We do offset printing in my business. We're talking about with letter press is what you want. Letter press in the printing business has no ink. No ink. If you go to like a fancy place, like an invitation, if the envelope is blue, there's no ink. It's the same color as the paper, but you can read it because it's pushed in. It's called fancy. Yeah. But why? The Taz is saying, why not? It's like I'm engraving. Maybe it's not called writing, but I'm engraving. That's what the Taz is saying. What's the difference between this and like the Gemara says for a get? I want to engrave. I want to take a stencil and push the aleph in and push the bet in. It's the same thing. That's what the Taz. Okay, so we'll talk about that in 1 second. Very good. So just to finish the Taz's words, 500 years ago? Wow, I didn't think he was there. You have him open over there still? He was the father-in-law or the son-in-law of the Shach? I always mix it up. You know, the Shach and the Taz, they're father-in-law, son-in-law. Those two on the Shulchan.
At the time of the printer and scan.
In those days, it was the old printer, so it was pressed in. All right. The words of the Taz is Mali, where does it say? He mali im dohek ta'ayet ala niyad. What do I care if someone presses a pen on a paper? Or niyad ala otiyot ha'ofera shebetufus. Zu v'zu kitibahi. So according to the Tudei Zahav, pressing in like old-fashioned or a stamp would be a good one. Stamping in a mezuzah would be kosher according to the Taz. Stamping, pressing into a mezuzah. If it's good for a divorce document, it should be good for a mezuzah. Okay. The Apiri Hadash, the Gemara we just read says pressing the letter in is kosher for divorce. That's what the Gemara says. Shulchan Aruch 125, Ibn Ezra. Shulchan Aruch, Ibn Ezra 125, C4. If you push the background, you're pushing in the letters. I would think it's the same thing because it's going in. I would think it's the same thing. We could look it up. Shulchan Aruch Ibn Ezra 125.4. Okay. Yeah, obviously. But the question is, what if someone did this? Some guy's a mishuga, He's a mishuga. His wife wants a get. He's driving her crazy. He says, "Hey, you want a get? I'll give you a get." And he goes to the jeweler and he has a get into it's a kosher. So that okay. Listen, you always have these questions. What's the classic answer? I told you this one time. What's the classic answer when someone asks a question? When's this ever going to happen? If someone goes to a woman and says, "Hareh mikodeshet li," on condition that engraving a get is kosher, are you married? It's the classic answer. Okay. Do you need a get? Do they need a get? I know, but we're learning from Bechatav, what's called Ketiva. That's what we're learning from. The Apri Hadash in Or HaChaim says, Pasam Megillah Shebetfus. He says, if you have Megillat Esther that was printed in the press, not kosher. Even though he agrees that a printed get would be kosher, the Apri Hadash, he says the Megillah would not be kosher. He holds that it's not called, the printing press would not be called writing. Okay? In the Sefer Zera Emet, Megillah shebetfus pesula, a printed Megillah, no kosher. Which is the Bah, and the Knesset HaGedolah, and the Pli Hadash, printing in the press is not called writing. When the Torah says writing, it means writing. Ve'osif HaZera Emet, שמצא בשטות מהר"ם פירובנסל, בכתב יד סימן עין ג'. What did this rabbi write? שפסל גם כן מגילה שבדפוס שאין דרך כתיבה. He agrees it's not kosher. Okay. Now, until this point, we have the opinion of the Taz. The Taz holds a printed mezuzah would be kosher because it's called, if it's not writing, at least it's engraving, and engraving would be kosher. So far, that's the Taz. So you would say, according to the Taz, a mezuzah maybe you can buy on Amazon.com. ולכאורה, יש להעיר עוד לגבי ספרי תורה ומזוזות מגילה. לפי המבואה במנחות שצריך לשרטט המזוזה. I don't know the verb, לשרטט, מחילה. ושרטוט זה מהלכה למשה מסיני. When it comes to mezuzah, you have to have lines, scored lines. You look at mezuzah, there's lines, right? And so this is halakha Moshe Sinai. And so therefore, how do you have lines on a printed mezuzah? You're not going to have these lines. Sirtut is a requirement. Even b'di'avad, if you made the mezuzah and you didn't put the lines, it's not kosher. Rambam writes, and Shulchan Aruch and others. ועיין לרבנו ישעיה הראשון בספר המכריע, he says, שהסרטוט צריך להיות בכל שיטה ושיטה. You have to have on every line has to be scored. In our Sefer Torah, also, we have lines, scored lines on every single sirtut. ואף בדיעבד יש לפסול אם לא סרטט בכל שיטה ושיטה. Even b'di'avad, if you already did it, if you didn't do the sirtut, the lines, it's not kosher. Lefichach, therefore, mezuzah shehi b'tfus. If you have a printed mezuzah or betzilayim, it says there's a yod, betzilayim, there's a yod over there. Betzilim. Yeah, come look. Bet sadi yod lamed yod mem. How would you pronounce this word? Betzilim. I don't know. You see, when I read these words, it's not me. I don't know. I'm just trying to read what's on the page. You have a mezuzah that's printed, or betzilim, it's photography. You have a picture of mezuzah. I want to take a picture of your mezuzah. Yeah, I want to take a picture of your mezuzah and hang it up on my wall. Free mezuzah, right? You have the $100 mezuzah. I take a picture, hang it up on my wall. In sham sirtut pesula, there's no sirtut. There's no lines. Only Israelis would say the book is a misprint. So therefore, you know the story about the guy in yeshiva who disagreed with Tosafot. I tell you this story ever. He's cutting out Tosafot from the guy says, "What are you doing? What are you cutting Tosafot out of the page?" He says, "I don't agree with Tosafot. I don't agree. So I'm cutting out Tosafot." He says, "Okay, fine, cut the Tosafot. But look at the other side of the page. There's more stuff. What did the other guy do on the other side of the page? There's Rashi you're cutting out. It's oil l'rashav, oil l'shcheno. Woe is to a man, woe is to his neighbor." You get cut out also. Americans, we don't cut things out of the book. We say, "Oh, we're not pronouncing it right." Okay, yalla. And so therefore, if you have a printed or photography mezuzah, where's the sirtut? It has to be lines. You don't have it. So even according to the Taz, how would the Taz answer this question? That's a very obvious question. I don't know. It doesn't say, huh? Maybe you want to do sirtut first and then print it. Maybe he doesn't even address it. ובאמת שאף על פי שהתוספות בשם רבנו תם כתבו שאין ספר תורה צריך ציטוט, even though Tosafot holds a Sefer Torah doesn't need ציטוט. ציטוט really is by mezuzah. We do it for everything. But Tosafot holds Sefer Torah doesn't need ציטוט, doesn't need these lines. However, we don't hold like this. We hold that ציטוט is required like Rambam for Sefer Torah. Okay. והוא הדין לגבי מגילה. Same thing for Megillat Esther, also needs ציטוט. Sirtut, just like a Torah. And so therefore, if you print it, you lose it. No. Like a silk screen, I think they call it. What do they call it? I don't know what that is. We're going to talk about this. You might address that point here. Now, don't tell me that the whole purpose of these lines and the mezuzah is just to help the sofer that he shouldn't mess up. You know, when you go, remember when you're a kid in school, they ask you to draw on the board, you go diagonal, like, or even the teachers. So sometimes they say, no, the whole reason for the lines and the mezuzah is just to keep you in check. But if it's printed, the printer is always going to be good. No, don't tell me this. Why? And you would say, if it's a printer, you don't need sirtut. No. You don't come up with new reasons that the halakha and the Judaism doesn't apply anymore. We don't do this. We need sirtut, we need organized lines, and the mezuzah finished. We need organized lines. So therefore, we have so far two things. Yeah? Zima? They buy it? Does it already have sirtut? I don't know. I don't know if the sofer does it or everybody. I don't know. There's actually a good YouTube video I saw once from a sofer showing you how he does the Torah. After this, I'll send it to you. So far we have 2 points. Number one is engraving called writing. And maybe a printing press, the old printing press, was like engraving. And we brought the Taz. The Taz says that by a get of a woman, a divorce document, if someone engraves, which is debossing the letters, pushing the letters in, it would be kosher. So the same thing should be for a mezuzah. Even if you want to say that, the second question we have is, where's the situt? Where's the lines from a press? And here's another concern. You have to, the sofer has to, every time he writes Hashem's name, he has to make sure he has kavanah. I'm writing Hashem's name for the kiddusha of this mezuzah. If you print it, a laser printer, it's all one time. Where's the kavanah for Hashem's name? And then you throw it in the garbage. Even if you want to say, before I press print, the Shem Kiddushat Mitzvah, I'm having kavanah for all the Hashem's names that's going to be printed. It shouldn't work. It's too weird. That's not called kavanah for every one of Hashem's names. But you have to look into this. Then I see Shaarey, a rabbi named Halek Levi. Shaarey came to Sefer Torah. He says, when you write a Sefer Torah, every time you write Hashem's name, you have to have a kavanah. I've seen, remember I told you YouTube? I've seen on YouTube, I like to watch all these things if I can, learn. I've seen some sofrim, I don't know what's the best way or not, that they write all Hashem's name first. I saw one guy, he writes Hashem's name. He knows exactly in the whole Torah where Hashem's name is. And then he fills in the rest afterwards. Pretty crazy. I said, well, yeah. According to this, Megillah doesn't have Hashem's name, so that concerns off. What about Situt? So you want to do your way. I want to do Situt first, and then print it. If you do Situt first, and then print it, according to the Taz, in an old printing press, it might work. Now we have to talk about our printing press.
Is kosher with the first name?
I didn't review these laws. I don't want to say psak halacha. I saw one guy do it online on YouTube. He's showing his process. I don't know what's the best way, so I don't want to speak about it if I don't know. I have to look it up. Okay. It's on my bucket list of my life is to be a sofer, but I'm not there yet. And to learn all these laws, very good. I'm not there yet. Okay, when I retire. Now, another question. Oh, he says at the end, interesting. There's a special halakha by mezuzah. This that I just told you, that the guy that I saw on YouTube, the sofer, puts Hashem's names all first. That would only work for a Sefer Torah. You can't do that for a mezuzah. Because there's a special halakha. Mezuzah has to be written in order. If you wrote a mezuzah, that's why mezuzot are kind of expensive, even though they're tiny. Why? If you wrote a mezuzah and then you're just reviewing it and you say, oh no, I made a little mistake on the dalet, you can't fix it. It's not fixable because if you fix that dalet, now it's out of order. Mezuzah must vehayu. Vehaviatanihi has to be exactly in order. So you have to throw the whole thing and start brand new. So mezuzah has to be written all in order. Yesh lahush b'dfus shema ot me'ucheret hakodma le'ot hakodemet la. How do you know which letter the printer is printing first? It's a good question, especially for our printers, or even for the stamp roll-ons. How do you know which letter is taking to the page first from you? You better be sure it's in order. If it's a mezuzah, it's got to be in order of the letters. So I don't know what the Taz would say, unless you do one letter by one stamp. Itai is determined to do this. So you want to do one letter by one letter stamp, you would get away around this. But if you do all the words and then you stamp it on, what if that little yud stamp came after the rest and now it's out of order? The whole mezuzah is not kosher. You have no way of knowing this. Especially for our printers these days. I don't know what the printer is doing because it's going, if it's not laser, my printer at home, it goes like a lot of times before the page comes out. So it's doing some letters, I don't know what order it's going. And so maybe it's out of order. If you have a picture, you don't have this issue because a picture is one shot for everything. There's no order in a picture. It's snap. And so the picture would be one step up. One more thing he adds on here. Even according to the Taz who said it would be kosher, that's only using old-fashioned printers. They would use their hands to push down the letters onto the page. That's when the Taz would say it would be kosher. In a modern-day print press, they're automatic, electronic. It cannot say this is called handwritten. It's not called written if it's a laser print in 2023. Also, there's a halakha in Sefer Paneach that a Sefer Torah that's a picture is also, obviously, it's not kosher. A picture is not called writing. And a laser printer these days, we don't even know what that's considered. Is it considered a picture? It could be an image. We don't know what it is. The custom in all around Orthodox Jewry, if you have a printed mezuzah, Amazon.com, not kosher. Go look what people do. They buy it from a handwritten sofer. You should really announce and awaken to the people. Don't trick the people by selling photographed mezuzot. Shehem pisulot, pisul gamud, which is for sure not kosher. Hopefully they listen to us and they hold back from this. And they should be blessed. And so I told you, my family member sent me a link. Here's the mezuzot I'm buying for my new house, Amazon.com. What do you think? I said, yeah, haram. What am I supposed to do over here? I said, do you want to maybe splurge for the sofer? No, the sofer is too expensive. It's $18 is the cheapest one. Amazon.com is $5.99. So what did I do? I don't have money to buy this guy, 15 mezuzot from a sofer. I would pay with my own money. So I told him the mezuzah for the front door is on me. I'm going to call a sofer local. It's not in the same city as me. We're going to spend $72, $100. Get one nice kosher mezuzah the right way. Would you object? It'll be my housewarming gift. And they accepted. They said, sure, sounds great. So I called the sofer. The guy came over. One mezuzah kosher. The rest is Amazon.com. At least they have one kosher mezuzah in the house. And what am I supposed to do? Should I have done something different? Because we have traditionalists. We have a lot of Jewish people. They're traditionalists. They want the mezuzah, but they don't want to spend for the mezuzah. And so I don't want to tell him, it's a delicate situation. You don't want to tell the guy, your mezuzahs are pasul, because then they're going to do nothing. At least let them hang on to something. You want them to hold on to the mesorah a little bit. So you have to use tax. So I would have paid for the whole thing, but I said, how many rooms you got? 11 rooms. I said, it's $1,000. I'll do one. One is meikar adin. One's going to be kosher for the whole house. Yeah, well, my heart was broken. Amazon.com, dechilak, as we say. Not kosher. So therefore, according to the Taz, we found one way to do it. Yeah, use an old-fashioned printing press. Go one letter by one letter, engrave the letters, and do sirtut, and you can have a kosher mezuzah. But if you go through all the aggravation, you may as well just buy one for $18 from the sofer. One letter at a time.